Next remaining of the session after the lunch. So we will break for lunch now.
Please, teachers are requested to go and proceed with the lunch. Thank you. Everyone, we will be resuming the second technical session. And for the session, I'd like to invite upon stage again respected Dr. A. Jafri sir, respected Dr. Rashi sir, and respected Dr. Umesh sir. So I hope you all have had your lunches, and it's a nice time to begin the session again. Whenever we start research, right, we have an idea, we work upon it to make that a reality. Two of the major hurdles that come in life are finding proper financial aid and framing a timeline to do the research. So I would like to invite upon stage respected Dr. Amit Goel sir to shed some light about budget and timeline of the project.
And I request you to kindly start the presentation.
So this budget section is most useful when we are planning a timeline also. Timeline is important in every project because we have to achieve some objective. Before that we have to have our paper published. But budget is important when we are asking for funding to complete our project. It is most of the time extramural funding and sometimes intramural funding. So time is easy, just in one slide, so I am taking it first. What is called as Gantt chart, timeline, proposed timeline is called and shown as in form of Gantt chart after the name of Henry Gantt, who first time used this chart to show that different stages of your proposal, how much time it will take for completion. So planning, research work, designing, implementation, follow-up. So this is how you have to give in form of either by coloring or by format, different things. But practical I can show you for one of my project which I have just submitted to ICMR for funding. Is like preparatory activity I will take for 4 months. So I have started from -4 to 0. That means before starting from the project, I will need 4 months to prepare for the project, like ethic clearance, CDRI registration, employment of the research staff, procurement of the instrument, all those things will take at least 4 months, so that this activities period is not counted in my research project. Then recruitment of the participant will take 0 to 30 months. Serological testing and genotyping. Now you can see I have continued from 0 to 54 months, means that as soon as sample is collected, I will simultaneously keep on entering the data also and testing also. I will not wait till the end of the studies just to save time. And at the end, last 6 months I have kept for the report writing, data analysis, report writing, and submission of report to the funding agency. Because whenever we are asking fund from external sources, it has to be time bound. Really it runs day by day. So you should have last 6 months especially for report writing and submission of final report, and other things can go hand in hand. So just one example, like this is my extramural project which is still going on, funded by ICMR. So they give fund to this is multi-center study. So when you are giving a fund budget, you have to give detail that for which center how much money you are asking. So like in my study we have 5 centers, All India Institute, BHU, KGMC and GB Pant Hospital and SEPGI, total budget of 1.5 crore. So which center will need how much money in which year, so every detail has to go in tabular form. And also the breakage here you can see. For SGPGI, first year how much money I have asked. This is important because you have to give a budget in this format. One major section is manpower, which grade of manpower you want, how much money you have to pay, total how much it will cost for first year. Then second is your consumable or recurring thing means the diagnostic test kits. One-time usable thing. Like if you are doing something like some project where you are using hepatitis B testing, so test-related serological kit, that will come in consumable items. Then there is non-recurring. You can see a deep freezer is written here, -80°1. Means this is one-time purchase. One instrument will come, it will be used for years. So that is a non-recurring head. Then you can see the contingency. Contingency is very small amounts, roughly 25,000 rupees per year, which will cover your something like syringe, gloves, stationery, all those miscellaneous things. And last is travel. Travel, you have to calculate how much money you want to travel head. If it is unnecessary, they will not give you. If it is less than what is needed, then you will not be able to complete money. So you have to give justification why you need money for travel. What all you can include in travel is, you may need to follow a patient at home, so you need to go to his residence place, collect the sample, that could be the travel. You may need travel expenses to transport sample, because I have 5-center study, sample are coming from all the center to SGPGI, so I need money to transport those samples. Then you will need transport money to present your data in conferences. That can also go to travel expenditure. So you have to think of at what all point you will need travel money and how much it will be. Then last is overhead. This is fixed at 3% of the money, which include manpower, contingency, and that's 3 fixed things. I'm forgetting. So that is a fixed amount. You cannot change it. It will be calculated on its own, or you have to calculate only 3%. Even 1 rupee beyond that is not acceptable. So overhead is coming to the institute. Basically, this money is given to the institute because you are doing the research, you are using the facility of the institute. So that much money goes to institute amount. So that is the overall about the budget. So just remember that you can ask budget for manpower, non-recurring item to purchase some fixed asset like deep freezer, ELISA machine, incubator, whatever, refrigerator, whatever you want. Then consumable item, where all the things which are one-time use will come. Then travel, then contingency and overhead. So these are the head where and how much money you can put in there, right? If any question, then I can answer.
Sir, just one small, छोटा सा हो सकता है, I might have missed it also. Just wanted to emphasize कि अगर हम कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट लिख रहे हैं, एक बेसिक मिनिमम इक्विपमेंट्स की हमारा उसमें रिक्वायरमेंट है, तो अब हम क्या उन इक्विपमेंट्स को भी डिमांड में डाल सकते हैं या हमें बियॉन्ड दैट को डिमांड में डालना?
Then you can put in any instrument. It's not like you can put, but that instrument should be, it should be reasonable to ask that instrument that it will be needed to complete your project. Like most of the time what you need is ELISA machine, ELISA reader, incubator, washer, or centrifuge machine, cold centrifuge, biosafety hood, PCR machine, all these things you need. So you can ask any kind of anything. But it should be logical in your project that yes, you need this instrument to complete this project.
Thank you, sir.
So what I will suggest, basically, even if you have that instrument, this, how typically I do, even if I have deep freezer, I will ask for one deep freezer, because by the time next project come, the life of previous deep freezer will go away. So just keep your chain intact and everything is there. So you can ask some instrument which is still there in lower lab, but you can ask for.
Sir, even general items like computer and printer can be asked.
computer and printer, etc. If you are asking, suppose some project where you are doing some questionnaire-based survey, then you can ask for laptop, or you can ask for tablet, you can ask for printer, because you will need to take out lots of printout. But if you are doing routine project, then they will not give you fund for a computer printer. You can use the contingency amount for that. Contingency is for that, for all this small expenditure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Amit sir. We will all keep this information while planning our budgets. Ethics. Whenever I hear this term, I don't know why the word responsibility rings in my head. The profession that we have chosen as MBBS student comes with a lot of responsibility. And on this note, I'd like to call upon stage respected Dr. Mohan Gujjar sir to shed some light about ethics in research.
NMC also recently, and now it is one of the mandatory course to be done by all medical students during their training. So I will just highlight, because it is a huge topic itself, ethics in biomedical and health related research. So can anybody give an example of any biomedical related research which is without risk? Anyone? So even if you think like it is just simple survey, but it might give the distress to the participant. Though you are declaring that the data will be analyzed anonymously and there will be no identifiable things in the manuscripts or publication, but for the participants, he or she know that investigator is aware when he or she is giving back to the feedback form in the same kind of the survey. So there is a possibilities of thoughts or view on particular survey aspects will be judged by the investigator, and there will be some perception about that person who is participating in the survey. So there is a possibility of issues. Even if you think that you are going to use your already collected medical records, data from the case sheets or samples left over in your laboratories, again there is a possibility risk in a different way, because it might lead to the disharmony among the faculty member itself, because someone else was thinking in his brain that I will do this kind of studies after the 6 months or 1 year, but someone had already started in that work. So there is a possibility professional jealousy and all the things happen. So no research is without any risk actually. So you should not think that always it is a harm to the participant. It is a somewhere, it's a various kind of the probable stress or like a professional rivalries might happen. So this is a quote from the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. They had published ethics guideline, and this is a latest version available freely, this booklet, through the online 2017. They say every research has some inherent risk, and there is a probabilities of harm or inconvenience to the participant or communities itself, as I told you, among the department, within the institute or something like this one. So there is always inherent risk whenever you consider doing any research. So there are the various types of risk. It is not a physical harm which we usually think about when there is a study and its related risk. It might be psychological harms, social harms, economic harms like privacy risk, breach of confidentiality risk, etc. So these has been actually identified risk associated while doing any kind of the studies. And these things is being addressed by the Institutional Ethics Committee. So the investigator might be adamant, oh, this is just data I am collecting and publishing, why they have issues, why there is a question raised by Ethics Committee members, because of various reasons. Just going through the brief about, because it is very important to understand the categories of the risk while doing any studies. So it has been as a standard, the 4 kind of the categories has been defined. First is the less than minimal risk, then minimal risk, then third one is the minor increase over minimal risk or low risk. The fourth is that more than minimal risk or high risk. Let's see some of the examples. So less than minimal risk, as I in the introduction told you, that even the office research means desktop research, like people say about doing the review or doing the meta-analysis, because it is a just office-based kind of the research, but it can lead to the disharmony among the colleagues or something like this. So there is still inherent some risk. So but it will consider as a less than minimal risk. So when you call as a minimal risk, when you feel that that is even the from the perspective of participant or patient, it is kind of the usual standard care. You are not doing anything extra during their treatment, and you just collecting some information or even some samples which are anyway not going to intervene or giving any pain. Like even the collecting the body fluid which is anyways going to discard during the clinical management, or like the hair. So these are the considered as a minimal risk kind of the studies. But if you collecting the blood sample specific, that is specific for your study, that is needed for your study, then it will be considered as a minor increase over minimal risk. We consider among this group as a low risk. So see, in the hierarchy, it is a third number. Even if you are collecting the blood sample, you say, okay, I am just collecting 2 ml of the blood sample. But from the ethics point of view, it is a minor increase over minimal risk. So other than this, few are the vulnerable populations, like doing study in the children or pregnant ladies, or doing the critical ill patients, or like having the captives like jail inmates, or you are subordinates. Because if you are collecting some data or blood samples from your juniors, from your students, because of the fear, they will not say no. And they are actually, the inherent risk is there. They are forced to give some answers through survey or giving some kind of blood samples. So they are considered as a vulnerable population. And of course, everybody understood this. This is a high risk where you are going to do some intervention specific for your studies. Anything like any device or drug for your study, doing any intervention to the participant. Then of course it is a more than minimal risk or come under the high risk. Not going in detail, but there are the 4 basic principles while dealing with the ethics aspects. That's autonomy, means you have to give the free hand to judgment to participate or not to participate. It should not be forceful, even the survey kind of the things. Then of course they should get benefited not directly or might be through the society by your study. This should be the motto of while reviewing from the ethics committee. And they also look, everybody understood that do not harm who is the participant in your study, and the justice should be there, means you should justify. General principles, again, from the biomedical research point of view, you have to justify and it should be seen by ethics committee about is it really essential to do this study from ethics point of view? Is there any voluntariness, means investigator had given the option, no compulsion to participate or they can opt it out, and there is a kind of like a non-exploitation, social responsibilities, you are justifying to the ethics committee that it is needed actually to the at a large for the societal benefit. Ensuring privacy and confidentiality should be part and should be mentioned in protocol. Risk minimization, how you address in your research proposals. Professional competencies that you are able to do, your collaborator, your group of investigators are able to do that particular study, and maximization of the benefit. You should not do different steps. In the same step, you can do both pre and post kind of the things. So maximizing the benefit in that particular proposal itself, if it is possible. Institutional arrangements and administrative approval is very much essential. Transparency and accountability while doing any study. And yes, you have to take as a lead investigator totality of all the responsibilities from the all aspects, from your ethics point of view, scientific point of view, or finance point of view. And of course, one of the another component is environmental protection. Who are in the ethics committee? Ethics committee's guidelines as given by the ICMR. They are the group of the people from different stakeholders. They are the minimum 7 required, maximum 15s are required. And fundamental is that 50% should be from outside of your institute, 50% can be from your institute. They should be from your different backgrounds, like medical science, medical and non-medical, basic, non-basics, lay person. These are the basically important components of any ethics committee. Chairperson, chairperson, just giving the chairperson should always be non-affiliated, then only he or she can give unbiased opinion at the last if some issues arises. Member secretary, of course, to run the whole show of the committee related aspect should be affiliated to the institute. Basic medical scientist, non-affiliated, affiliated, clinician also, affiliated, non-affiliated, legal expert, you need a social scientist and the lay person. The only clear thing is that chairperson should be non-affiliated, member secretary should be affiliated, and lay person should not be affiliated, and 50% of your committee member from the outside. What the ethics committee look, there are the two aspects. You say many times you get an opinion from ethics committee, oh, they should look in that ethics aspect, why they are giving comment about scientific aspect. No, it is their purview to look for and can give the comments from the scientific aspects also. They can give comment. They can give comments about the objective, sufficient numbers, study design, methodology, your inclusion-exclusion criteria, need of control arm, justified or not, investigator qualifications, facilities. They can ask actually if it is not very much clear in the proposal. And of course, ethical issues also, it has been looked through risk-benefit assessment and vulnerable participant, it is really essential in that study or not. Voluntariness is declared in that study or not. Then potential conflict of interest has been declared and mentioned or not. Compliance to the regulations, benefit to the local communities. So there are the various aspects which is definitely, it is a checklist kind of the things which the ethics committee do while submitting their reports, and it has been kept in the archiving. Like in India, it is 3 to 5 years, different centers, and abroad, it is a mandatory up to the 10 to 15 years to keep archiving of all minutes, meetings and agendas. Not going in the detail, it is but very important aspects once you send any proposal to ethics committee, patient information document or patient information sheet. So there are the various components, because from the scientific point of view, you are very clear what you are going to do, but the same information has to turn in the simple to be understood by the lay person, means participant, that what is the things which is being done, why I am the part of something. Some investigator or clinician or basic scientist is approaching to me. Just going through this example, then it will be easier for you. Suppose this is one of the patient information sheet, which one of my projects has been submitted to ethics committee. In this, it is studies about patients who are in the coma stage, coming as a critically ill. So what is the natural history to recover from that? It is an ongoing study, multinational studies. So see the patient information document, whatever you had a very high kind of the projects in your mind and high stake, but ultimately participant who are not from the medical background. First thing to be declared that you are being invited. In this particular research, basically the first initial lines should mention that this document is related for giving you to for inviting in a study. So that is very important, first thing, and you should also declare, take your time. If you doesn't understand this document very well, come back to me and ask some more queries. Background of particular area or disease in which you are going to study, so that has to be given in a very simple language. Then the main aim also to be in the very simple language, to be clear why this disease cohort is important and what is your primary aim in your study. Then again, coming back to that, their patients, if the patient himself is reading this or on basis of some legal guardian is reading this, has to learn that why he or she, the means participant, has been chosen for your study. Then again you have to, because you had given the background, the patient is so and so, we are doing this study, and your patient is having the exactly the same kind of the scenario. That's why we want to include in our study. That to be again declared. Voluntariness to be declared, that it is up to you. You have to decide to participate or not participate. You have to clear cut say that you no need to give extra payment to participate in a study. Also you can declare that you will not get any reimbursement if the investigator needs it. If you have a funding for giving some money to the participant, everything to be declared here. And also withdrawal from any time during the study period. Even after the giving the sample, they can come back to you and ask you, okay, I will not want to include in your study. They can withdraw. That things has to be declared in this important aspects. Also, what is that basically kind of the data, what you will do, what is the purpose, you have to declare, you will analyze. The patient is getting benefit from your study directly or not. Then you have to declare that your patient or participation will not benefit you directly, but it will help you understand this disease and it might help in the future to treating the similar kind of the illness. So those things very precisely, it is just an A4 size draft in the 3 or 4 paragraph. But most of the information, because these are the queries arises when someone participates in any kind of the study, means what is the things. And of course always give thanks to participation and contact details of the lead investigator as well as your ethics committee member secretary, name, contact address, at least location from so and so room, location so and so has to be declared. And along with this there is a consent form on which the relative, whomsoever guardian or participant sign it. So this is a very important, because this is a document which clear most of the things which save you in the future. Because after the sign, nobody know what the things, but if it has been approved by ethics committee and in the consent form signing that I had read that detail about the study, it will save you, because everything is in the black and white. Just few aspects about the monitoring in the clinical studies. It is meant for mainly your trials, means any international drug or device trial. Just few things, 2 or 3 slides more in this. Purpose of the clinical trial, it is keeping the participants safe and yes, of course, respecting their rights and having the data we can trust. Making sure that trial is running in the right direction, there is no much deviation, and in overall it is basically it is a trust, it is a worth scientific understanding knowledge which ultimately lead to the future kind of in the clinical practice. Monitoring in the clinical studies, it is basically 2 or 3 stakeholders are very important. In India, regulator is that CDSCO, and one is the researcher, and another one is ethics committee. So they monitor any deviation, any adverse event happening. Researchers has a responsibility to inform both to the ethics committee and to the regulator. And ethics committee again has to respond to the regulator in case of any adverse event. So other than the ethics committee, few other monitorings which are required. One is the data safety monitoring board, which are not really in our country not being used, but outside world it is a very mandatory kind of the things. They have the authority to stop actually in the midway of any trial, and they can change your planning design also. And another monitoring by the sponsor who had funded either government or private sector, and the regulator of course. So all they have their mandates and their checklist and their authorization on particular aspect how to monitor a clinical trial. So any monitoring as part of the routine or as a triggering the things which lead to the monitoring committee to go and just look closely what is the issues happening. Recent 2020 in the Journal of the Trials, one survey from the UK. So what they had done, they included 43 sites which are actively participating in the trials. So they had done the survey to what are the issues specific to the monitoring. Let's see. So it is a 43 participant sites, and they find it out 3/4 of the centers had a trigger related monitoring, means authority monitoring bodies are closely look these centers, 3/4 centers, when there is a deviation in protocol and there is some consent related issues. Even the more than 50% time, if you see the 4th or 5th, it is like a suspected fraud in the UK just published in 2020. So even they have some acumen that they members of committee, there is a possibility fuzzing of your data at particular site. They go and look very precisely all the papers. So in the summary, the purpose of monitoring and ethical aspects is very much essential. Ultimately, it's a participant safety or researcher safety that we doesn't realize, and in the long run, trustworthy science, and the long term, it's a benefit to the society at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gurjar. Session is open for questions. Any questions? Sir, I would like to ask, yes, please hand over the mic.
ask, is it ethical to provide some benefit to the participant, like giving the food allowances or travel allowance during the trial? Is it ethical or?
Yes, if you are asking your participant to come have an extra visit, it is not required for as a part of a standard care. Ideally, it should be, because the ethics committee member raised this issue many times. Because of your study, he or she is supposed to come have an extra visit and stay something like this one. So in the budget plan, you should have like this
You
one.
have to mention the budget plan that will
Yes,
provide that.
yes, travel. So travel for both participant as well as if you need a travel for a community related research also. In that it can be covered.
May I ask something? I'm doing one clinical trial in the remote area of Odisha and all, and they don't know the language. I am not comfortable with their language and all. And I'm trying to make them comfort that this is a study and I am going to enroll you for this, and they are not able to understand. In that case, what we have to do? Or we have to convert the ICF in some different language, or we have to take the support of other.
Yes, it's a common sense bottom line. Ultimately, if you are making the patient information sheet or participant information sheet and participant did not understand, then there is no way to make it like this one. So that's why the ethics committee member feel, so one another other than the English, definitely in the local language, this PIS or PID should be present.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, in the summary slide, all the ethics is meant to benefit the mankind as a whole. So, sir, my question is, we have seen that during COVID-19, there was one study published. This was a multi-center trial, and it was about the use of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine along with or without macrolides. And sir, this study was published in Lancet, and thereafter, after some months, this study was retracted, and the Lancet people, they said that they were under the pressure of the pharma lobby to publish this, although it was unethical. Another thing is, with the big food and big pharma being the sponsors of the FDA, now there is a clear conflict of interest. Now sir, are there anyone who is overseeing the highest of these bodies so that the practitioners of medicine do not become inadvertent agents of this mafia?
Okay, so you can't deny that anything to be explored, it needed a money most of the time. Otherwise, you use the own infrastructure, but some money is the public money, giving the open the medical college, giving the infrastructure. You are utilizing and doing some research. Say it's non-funded, but ultimately you are utilizing the institute funds or facilities. So most of the good studies and the trials need a budget. The Western world, they promote to declare it in their research proposal, in their manuscript article, that someone has funded, and you have to declare not only the funded, what was the role actually that particular company or funding agencies, it is involved in the designing of data analysis, or it was a restricted grant, non-restricted grant. So if you are very much clear since the study proposal, then probably it will not lead to any issues. Because if you see the medical practitioners in India, a lot of the scenarios recently you had also observed, are taking some kind of obligations from the pharma company, but we never declare it. And Western world, in the manuscript, if you see, they declare very clear that they are on the board of so and so companies and taken money to deliver professional talks for that company. They declare it, and it's a perception of the reader to find it out. It's because of that association, the results are some manipulated or not. So, but they are declaring. Here we are taking but not declaring. So both extreme might not be fit actually. So means too much involvement of pharma company in your funding and manipulation or planning of the studies also not a good. and otherwise, on the other hand, hiding those supports, not declaring is also not ethical.
Sir, the question here is, suppose the pharma company now starts sponsoring CDSCO or the DGCI. So the matter here is this, so that there the FDA is being sponsored by the big food and the big pharma lobby. Now the thing is, now this is a clear conflict of interest. Even if there is some manipulation going on, nobody is going to check it. There are no checks over it. So that's what I wanted to emphasize here.
Look, human brain always and devil aspect is always faster than your true honest person's brain. So it will always be there fight between both things. Anyway, everyone is, if most of the things are towards the honesty, then will be actually the true things and honest things will come out from them.
Thank you so much, sir. This was an enlightening session, and with no questions from the audience, we will now close this session. Thank you so much.